I am not buying what Sean McVay and Les Snead are selling in their latest press conference. Join me. I'm going to react to a clip from the latest presser from McVay and Snead, and they're asked specifically about drafting an offensive player at pick 13. And this is the Rams Radar. Feel free to like and subscribe, like and hype, all that good stuff. Let's watch this, and then I have some strong thoughts after this clip.
Everything, but how eager are you to draft possibly a, offensive skill player
Yeah.
that you can plug and play into that offense?
Yeah, I think we're eager to add a really good player at 13, Gary. I mean, whether that's offensive skill, whether
I just want to say it. I just want to say it. I have watched almost every Sean McVay and Les Snead presser over the past, I want to say, 5 years. These two guys show up in black hoodies. They're got their Zoom cameras on, talking to the press before the draft. It's silly season. I am not buying this. I'm not buying this.
that's defensive guys, I think there's a lot of players that you look at that you feel really good about just based on having familiarity with what those top guys or those first round players look like, and so you do feel really good about. There's a lot of possibilities. We don't control what happens in those 12 picks before.
Yep. Deflect
And
away.
so what we've done is a lot of contingency planning and a lot of conversations, and feel really good about that. Not exclusive to skill. There's skill players that I like and that we like, and there's a lot of positions of guys that we like in this class, and there's going to be a lot of good football players in the NFL coming from this draft.
Just navigating the conversation.
Gary,
Unless-
don't go 7-on-7 on me, Gary. You know what I mean? Can't there's the trenches are people too.
Right. But Les, what's kind of your overview of the receiver class?
Okay, we're going to react to Les talking about the receiver class because it's interesting as well. But I just want to point out there, Sean McVay, he's a master communicator. It's one of the great things about him. They're not going to reveal their draft strategy in this, right? Anyone who's seen my latest videos knows I think the Rams are trying to trade out of the pick. If they don't find a trade partner, I think they're going to take a tackle. That's my own opinion. I could see them going receiver. I could see them, just going best player available, whoever is there at 13. But I think that their priority is moving back and accumulating draft capital in future drafts. And my rationale simply is their roster is loaded. They're drafting for depth this draft. Most of the starting positions are claimed going into this, unless they really find a diamond in the rough or a generational talent. And maybe at 13 they can do that. Maybe they can do that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't want them to take a receiver. I just don't think they're going to. I think that they're wise to think or to know they don't control the 12 picks in front of them, but they want other teams to believe like, oh, you know what, the Rams could draft a wide receiver at 13. I just feel like there's been too much media hype for the Rams drafting a wide receiver for the Rams to actually draft a wide receiver. That's my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below. But speaking of wide receiver, let's talk about Les Snead talking about wide receivers here.
The receivers that are out there, and I guess particularly Makai Lemon. What's kind of your evaluation of him?
I think in the receiver class, and here's what's interesting: whether it's this class, next year's class, last year's class, is whether it's college football, high school football, NFL, you got a lot of teams throwing the football. So in every draft,
just like to point out, Les Snead is chewing on a pen. Just want to point that out.
There are a lot of receivers on your draft board. There's just a lot of receivers playing meaningful minutes in all levels of football, whether you're the top option or the fourth or fifth option. The key is figuring out how they give their teams an edge. Does that edge help us and if you call it, some people call it the flavor or genre. So that's really what you work through in all of these classes is, hey, who do we have? What skill sets do we have? What skill sets might we want that we think could be beneficial moving forward that we don't have, vice versa, things like that. And that's what we do.
But how about Lemon in particular?
So again, that was a lot of like, you know, intelligent football IQ talk, but didn't actually answer the question. And I'm glad he got followed up with Makai Lemon question specifically.
Can you weigh
Lemon's a
in
fun
on?
player to watch, being right here. Yeah, I got a daughter at USC. I got a son that's, I've lived and died some Trojan football. So I can say this as a fan, as a father with two kids there, uh, it was fun when you saw the ball go up and it was heading toward Lemon's hands. You always felt like he'd bring it down.
Mhm.
What
And
do you think of him, Gary? You like Lemon?
doesn't matter what I think. I'm not.
Okay, okay. Again, like a great comment about a draft prospect that they might be interested in. I just, if you're a Rams fan watching this and you are set, it's got to be Makai Lemon and someone, no one else. I think you might be setting yourself up for heartbreak personally. Just because I know they drafted Jared Verse, but I just think it's the roster building philosophy right now. If they had a lot of holes, absolutely, I think they would make the pick, potentially even trade up. But right now, where the Rams are, is there a player at 13 that helps them win the Super Bowl this year? I don't know. And I think that if they do have to make the pick because they don't have a trade partner, drafting offensive line depth is like the greater priority, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments.
Drafting. Um, but finally, from me, in terms of Jimmy
Yes, the
Garoppolo,
Jimmy Garoppolo. This is the
if
last
he's
thing I'll
if
react
he's
to.
at his age and if he's weighing retirement, and I know you guys are giving him space to make his decision, but is there a point where you look at your situation with Matthew and Stetson, and you make a real final push to convince him to play? Is there
You
room
give
for that, or
you give him time. I think what was beneficial, and you guys have seen him play in the preseason, Gary, is because of what happened with Matthew
Okay, Sean McVay instantly changing the subject off of the question about Jimmy Garoppolo,
last year. Stetson got a chance to run the
bringing
twos
it to
really throughout the
Stetson.
whole training camp until Matthew was a participant, and did a heck of a job. So he's improved tremendously. He's obviously done really well in the preseason games and some of those crunch time moments that has led to, guys winning football games. But to answer your question, yeah, you leave the door open. I don't think you want to press. I think what you don't want to do is ever force a guy to play if in his mind he's ready to move on, but you don't want to
Yeah.
minimize that. Hey, if you do decide you want to play, let's make sure it's here with us. Have 2 years of a good relationship, and so that's not necessarily new news to us, but it is something that we want to be able to give him his time, and he knows where we stand on that.
Wes?
I'm going to stop it there. Again, you watch the full press conference here, but I just want to say I love listening to Sean McVay and Les Snead talk about football. I love hearing them talk about the Los Angeles Rams specifically. They're two of my favorite people. When there's a presser that drops, like I'm normally one of the first people to listen to it. Um, I'm a big fan of both Les and Sean, but I am not buying like transaction declined. The credit limit has been reached, and it's only because it's the week of the NFL draft. It's silly season. It's smokescreen season. Les and Sean here showing up. Just with their Zoom cameras that are grainy, and they got their black hoodies on. And I'm not buying it, folks. I'm not buying it. I think that the Los Angeles Rams are going to trade that pick 13. I could be wrong, and I'm okay with that because I don't have a big enough audience to remind me when I was wrong. And for those of you who do watch all my content, thanks for reminding me when I'm wrong, or when I'm right. But I do not think the Rams are going to pick at 13 personally. I think they're going to trade out of it. If they do pick, I think it's going to be an offensive tackle. That's just kind of where I'm at. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. are you buying what Les and Sean are selling here? Again, if it was any other week, I would maybe put a little more stock into it. But this week, I do not buy. No, and that's not just Sean and Les. That's any NFL coach or GM. Right, this week it's silly season, right? Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'm Pale Time of the Rams Radar. Like and hype and subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams. Woohoo!